person that I'll be worried about is Bailey.
Alright, guys.
That's it. And by proxy, maybe Bailey
can do one
poisoning
more.
other people.
So I was going to, but fuck it. I'll do it.
I think he's kind of solid.
So we gotta go to Yarikawa.
He's so likable. You can just
So,
kind of
can I can't fast travel, right?
and talk.
Yeah, that's one of the most annoying elements of this playthrough too, is that we can't fast travel.
You can just talk to anybody easily and make them like trust him. Even the Canadians like him. I mean, I think Aika was just on her Instagram live talking about how like Angela and Tyler.
In fairness, I believe that many Canadians have a reputation for being very friendly and liking a lot of people.
But this is Aika Wong though. Aika Wong isn't just gonna. She's not gonna just call anybody a good person. You know what I mean? Aika. So like, if I'm saying it, I have to believe that they're just as chill as can be, as sweet as pie. Like they don't want to ruffle any feathers. They're just trying to live their life. And if you bring that same energy into the house, I feel like it's a very inviting and warm presence, especially in a season like this where everybody's supposedly trying to gun for one another. So, I don't know.
Any final thoughts on Tyler and his
Fuck off.
I'm excited.
Either way, it's gonna be exciting if he's there.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting if he can start the season like if he
Who's on the other side of this one?
those like at least one of those first HOH and just
Tyler
start the season the way he started with 20.
Tisha. That's a kind of a random combination.
Yeah. Okay, let's do predictions on Tyler. Chris, do you have a prediction on how far
I'm
Tyler
really far
can
behind
go
on
this season?
podcast right now.
I don't have a prediction. I don't get super attached to players. I just like seeing them play. But Tyler wouldn't surprise me if he, if he left early, I wouldn't be surprised. But if he made a deep run, I'm not surprised either. He has the toolkit. He's very well-rounded. He's a good competitor, a good social game, and he's very strategic. He's probably one of the most well-rounded people on the cast, I think. So.
Yeah, definitely.
On paper, I think Tyler does very, very well. More and more that we talk about it, though, I get nervous. So, but you know what? No, I'm an emotional person and I don't give a damn. I think that Tyler is probably going to go very far. I don't know if he'll win. I don't have the same winner's juju in my head that I had for Devon, but I certainly have, I can see him making jury, and I'll say that at the very least.
Okay. Karen, what about you?
I think Tyler goes in probably as the best player on the cast.
Yeah. Wow.
And with that reputation, I think he is the biggest wild card on the cast in terms of how he will do. I think that he's that target on his back will never go away, and so it could come back to him at any point. So I think it's all over the board. I don't think there's any particular spot where I think he goes out.
Yeah, he has really high upside. I feel like through half of Big Brother 20, I think we were ready to sort of put him into the pantheon with Dr. Will and Dan. Derek, just all-time most perfect games played, and then to ultimately come away not even being a winner of that season. I do think he has a very high upside. I think he's going to go far. I really do. I think that he's going to have some bumps along the road, but I just remember watching that guy in the first half of Big Brother 20 being so fast and then not being caught up with having a relationship that he is able to go away from. I think he's able to learn from some of the mistakes where he got too caught up in so many different relationships in the first half of the season. I think that he's able to come in. And also, he's a guy who, if you put him on the block, he could win a veto, he can win HOHs, so I think that he's also somebody who's going to be tough to get out of the house. I think that Tyler sticks around. I think he's going to make a deep run. I don't think he's the winner, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him go very, very far again.
Yeah, one of my biggest, like I said, one of my biggest fears with Tyler is he comes back to Big Brother 22 and he plays, because he plays such a flashy game Big Brother 20, but he plays like a more subtle Casey game and he loses because of it. If let's say he makes the final two, because an All-Star, I feel like an All-Star cast would reward his first game. So I feel like if he overcorrects, I think that could be one of his biggest flaws in this game specifically.
Okay. All right, Chris, where can people keep up with more of what you're doing?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at strawhatchris, LOL, and that's Chris with no H. And sometimes I stream Mega Man on Twitch.
Mega Man?
Like old Mega Man.
Yeah, from which system?
Game Boy.
Game Boy? Yeah.
You can, oh my god, you can stream that? Holy
Well, it's like an emulator.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, that's twitch.tv / Chris Alba.
Okay.
Again with Chris with no H.
Alright, well Chris, great talking to you today. Amon, where can people keep up with all of your love for Devon and for Tyler?
Yes, you can follow me at Amon Adwin on Twitter, doing exactly what Rob said. You can also find me on the Drag Race podcast with Liana and Beth.
Okay, and of course, Taryn, everybody knows.
You can find me on Twitter at ArmstrongTaryn and twitch.tv/TarynArmstrong.
Okay, really looking forward to seeing Tyler come back for the All-Stars. This was a lot of fun to get to talk through their games. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, there you have it. That's our Tyler Crispin preview. Again, thanks to Chris Alba for joining us, and Amon once again. We are going to be getting into our Keisha preview coming up here in this episode in just a moment. But first, let me thank a sponsor for this episode, Login. Prices you Cast, Puya Zambakili, and from newcomer Phil Thompson, who is very impressive in our audition process. I think you're really going to enjoy hearing from Phil. I'm going to turn it over to Taryn, Puya, and Phil to talk about Keisha.
Hello everyone and welcome back. We are here to talk this time about another hypothetical member of the Big Brother 22 All-Star cast. It's somebody that I never thought we'd get back. It's Keisha from Big Brother 10, who was not in the rumor mill really much at all for a long time, and then we had some last-minute shakeups, and it appears that we might actually see Keisha on our screens once again. Here to talk with me about it is Puya. How you doing, Puya?
I think I might as well do.
I'm doing well, Taryn. Who would have thought? Who would have thought, after all this time, one of the few names that the fans are always clamoring for is in the mix and could be there. It is the eve of her birthday to date this. It's only fitting that we talk about her.
Yes, and joining us to talk about Keisha, a new member of the podcast, it's Phil. How you doing, Phil?
Hey, what's up, Taryn? Thanks for having me on. I also thought we would never see anyone from, like, before season 16, like, ever again. So this is just really, really exciting. Should be great.
Yes. Can you just introduce us to you a little bit here? Who are you and what's your history with Big Brother?
So, I'm a film student, and basically my biggest passions in life are film and reality TV. I've been a fan of, Big Brother and Survivor and all that stuff for, the past, I guess, 5 years, but I've seen all these seasons, like, definitely more than once. And I think my love with reality TV and RHAP are, like, married together, so this is just super exciting to be able to actually talk about some of these players that I just have been watching for years.
Yeah, and an all-star season, no less, yeah. We are here, we're going to talk about Keisha. She originally appeared on season 10 of Big Brother, was, I think, pretty widely considered to be one of the best seasons, if not the best. We've done a couple of season rankings. I believe it took the top spot both times that we did them. And Keisha's definitely a big part of it. Booyah.
She really is. I mean, this was the back-to-basics season. No fancy stuff, nothing crazy. Just relying on the players you have booked to be on the show. And Keisha brought entertainment in a way that no one else could bring.
Guess I'm not talking much, so I'm kind of tired. I really don't have much to talk about either.
All fun times, but also no slouch in the strategy department either. No slouch in the
weird period. It's like a lot of things I wouldn't want to talk about, like kind of weird. Again, Big Brother.
I think right off the bat, I don't know if she immediately popped off the screen, but like, what were your thoughts on Keisha when you were first watching Big Brother 10, Phil?
When I first watched Big Brother 10, I definitely thought that like she was casted as like the Janelle like archetype. You know what I mean? She was going in as kind of like just I guess just like this like a very fiery competitor, but I didn't expect much from her like strategically. But then she was able to really align herself with players like April and Libra, and then she like really popped. Like after like the second week, she just popped as a player, and she basically stayed that way for the rest of the season. I was really I love Keisha.
Yes. Let's can we what is Keisha's story? Like for anybody that did not watch Keisha, did not watch season 10, or maybe they just don't remember Keisha because you know season 10 people usually remember Dan, remember the Renegades. What is Keisha's story here, Phil, on season 10?
So one of my favorite aspects of just reality TV is storytelling, and I think that Keisha, like a lot of the people who play with Dan, she has such an interesting like rise and fall story. It kind of is like a little bit of a tragic downfall, which again happens to the people who play with Dan. But she started the game like aligning herself, you know, with Libra and April, and they were in the Coven Alliance, right? And so throughout most of the pre-jury section, you know, Keisha was just able to determine how like basically most of the votes went, if not all the votes. Her and Libra basically like ran the game. And her aligning herself with those people early on, with her aligning herself with April and you know Libra, they were the movers and the shakers of the game. So with all those connections that she made, she was able to you know stay safe for that portion of the game. And I think another thing is that she didn't just align herself with those people. She also had a pretty great social game. She aligned herself with, you know, the rest of the players, with people like Memphis and Dan and Rennie and Jesse. You know, those are people that were able to really help her after her first alliance basically imploded in the first half of the game.
Where did you go from there?
So here's the thing, Terry. You talked about how Dan is the one we remember. The Renegades is what we remember. Keisha was in a position where she started this alliance. What would we can't call the most volatile alliance. In the Coven with Libra and with April. This was an alliance that shouldn't have worked, especially given all the interactions, given all the blow-ups we've seen throughout. It shouldn't have worked. But they were the story. They were the production for the first half of that season. They had control. They were explosive. There was a lot going on. And Keisha was the one who started it all. That was Keisha's alliance. And because, you know, throughout history, we keep talking about the season and how great it is. We look at it through Dan's eyes because he won. He's the great player we know now. But if we look at it through Keisha's eyes, it is just such an incredible roller coaster that she had to travel and get through to get as far as she did in the game.
Yeah, and really one of the more successful women alliances, like all women alliances, even though it does blow up, like they were dominating, you know, unlike, you know, some others like the Fatal Five, which was never really became a thing, or really like there were a lot of people on this potential cast tried to work with women at various points, didn't really work out, but the Coven really was a very dominant force in the game for a long time, Bill.
And the thing about that, which I also find interesting about the Coven, is that they still fought, like, while they were in an alliance. Like, we do. Like, April, like, Keisha would hear April talking about her, and they would just go in a full-out just fight in the backyard. And then that night, they'd be chilling in the HOH room like nothing happened. It happened a lot. That's what made Season 10 so great. And so it's interesting that Keisha is a very dynamic person, that she's able to blow up at people, but she still is able to separate that, and she's still able to maintain a relationship with those people at the same time.
Yeah, and so, you know, it was interesting. The first half of Season 10, I feel like it often gets forgotten, that we remember the failed attempt that Brian and Dan made in the very early portion of the season, and then there was, like, some stuff that happened. Dan was lying low, and then Keisha's birthday, and then from there, it was the Renegades, right? Like, something, like, I feel like that's what most people talk about when they talk about Season 10. But that early portion was very dynamic, Puya.
Very much much so. So you mentioned the easy one to remember is the Brian Hart debacle, the failed attempt there, the coup that's where the coven came together. Was this is shady? They're being shady. We need to ouststep. They get rid of Brian. And the next thing, who could forget? Steven, the much forgotten Steven, sir. Steven, I forgot the puppets too. Can we just make this a retelling of season 10? I wouldn't mind that. That should just be a podcast itself, I think. Yeah, we got time. Let's do it. Yeah.
この辺で見たって話だけど、気配はない。
探してみよう。So here we go. But now it's the Steven food week, and Steven is someone that Keisha is friends with, and they want him out. They want him out bad. Keisha doesn't agree with this, but her alliance doesn't trust him, is not wanting this. Angie, who is also in the house, is also close with Steven, is kind of getting out of this scot-free, and everyone's only looking at Keisha.
Oh, wait, what?
Keisha doesn't like this. Now Angie's on the radar. So now Angie is Keisha wants, but people in her life don't really want this. Again, the beauty of this, that Phil has already illustrated, that you've illustrated, is that this alliance kept going in and out of love with each other. Keisha and Libra are good together. They hate April. But now April and Keisha are good and they hate Libra. And every time one of them had power or control, they were doing something that the other ones might not have really wanted to. Outside of the first week where it seemed like universally they were all down with the cause for getting Brian out, after that, it was very hard to see them on the same page again and again, which wasn't happening, and then the ultimate blowout was during the birthday.
Phil, can you walk us through Keisha's birthday? What happened?
So essentially, with Keisha's birthday, again, this alliance has been forming for the first, three weeks, and Keisha went against April and Ollie's intentions to, take out Jerry and Rennie in week 3 and send target as Angie, like Puya already described. And so, this was boiling up, and basically, Keisha and Libra started talking about how they didn't like how April seemed like she didn't trust them, right? And so they started talking about that, and of course Jesse, who was like a target in week 4, he overheard that. He was like, that sounds great. And so then he went up and he told April and Ollie basically everything that happened. And the thing about Keisha, the one thing about Keisha's birthday is that she has complete and total tunnel vision. As soon as she has the thought in her head, she has to say it. And so Keisha was just stewing in the kitchen talking about this whole argument, because eventually her and April got into a fight about it, and then Keisha went into the kitchen and just started talking about April this, April that, and everyone just tried to calm her down, be like, Keisha, it's your birthday, calm down. But she could not do that. When someone tried to calm her down, it made her worse. It made her talk about it more. And then, the whole house exploded basically after that.
I mean, I think that's a good point about Keisha. Keisha as a player, Puya. How does she operate? She was playing a dominant game, but she was clearly unafraid to go against the grain, against what her allies wanted. She was getting into fights with other people. She was very, vocal about how she felt about things, even on her birthday. Is this Keisha the player?
The way I see Keisha,
Keisha the player is not afraid to make the moves she wants to make personally that benefit her, but she is also unapologetic in that if someone challenges her,
someone that was positioned in a dominant position, and never was able to enact anything that displayed any dominance within that position.
Keisha doesn't stand down. This is former Keisha. It's been admitted. Maybe Keisha now has a leash on just getting angry at people, and maybe doesn't want a birthday, the sequel, to happen. But for what we saw in Big Brother 10, Keisha was never afraid to stand her ground, never afraid to let you know how she felt about the moves that she made or the things you are accusing her of.
Yeah, I think her not being able to stand down, I think that actually, in some way, it kind of helps her. Because again, like I was saying, it gives her this type of tunnel vision. I think that's the reason, when Steven went out, she had it in her head that I need to win this HOH so I feel safe with my alliance, and then she won it. I I feel like that helps her income.
他にはいないんだ。
捕まった。ここまでおったら我らも手を貸そう。腕は立つよ。わしは大黒堺一志村じゃない。なら手を貸してくれよ。
Are we now?
まず野営を見てみる。捕虜を運ぶ部隊。どうやら敵に立つよ。元槍川の向こうにある野営に向かうのだ。刺される前に動かねばなるまい。
I recommend that people go and they watch the clip. And don't just watch the show clip. Go watch the feed version of it. Because it is just, it's unbelievably, it's cinematic, is what it is. It's a well-paced drama. Phil, you're in film school. Could someone have written this out?
盗んだ火薬も役立ちそうだ。
There's no way
これ
anyone
は
would
使
write
え
a
る。
character like Jerry.
なかなかの作詞ですな。よし。
You
毛布よ
can't
り
write
先
that.
に動くぞ。
That was later in the thing, but
But I hope that the premiere basically is just like a really, it's 2 hours, right? I hope it's just gonna be like Big Brother the movie, just playing back all the classics, all the favorites. Because I know most people, I know there's a lot of people who just have not seen a season, like older seasons like Big Brother 10, even though it's like one of the greatest.
Yeah, people are already making like these cool fan edit trailers for the show, like that honestly are way better than anything Big Brother has ever put out. So, like, come on, guys, let's make this happen. Let's not just spend 15 minutes on the montage.
Yeah, I feel like so. This season was 2008. That's 12 years ago, and we know there's probably most likely been a lot of fans that came in around the BB16 era, and there've been newer fans coming in every year. Obviously, this is a great time to celebrate your history, and you have a great selection of history in the cast that hypothetically is being put together. So getting a celebration of all that, giving the fans these things, showing them that, hey, we have more gold in the archives. You need to be looking at them. Do that. Also, I would be a bad friend if I didn't personally plug Amon's re-sync, lip-sync of this birthday that is available on his Twitter somewhere. Please go look at it. It's a good time.
Oh boy. Okay, so week 4 was a big week in Big Brother 10. April wins the HOH and puts Jesse and Memphis on the block. It's a big turning point. Everything is coming to a head here, and the votes are split. And Dan Giesling finds himself perfectly positioned in the middle. He's been behind the scenes this whole time, developing relationships with both sides, playing them off each other, and now he is in his position where he is the swing vote and also America's Flair in this particular week. Luckily, he does not. The wishes of America seem to coincide with his own wishes, but I do think it plays into this situation where it's really going to be played up that which way is Dan going to vote? Nobody knows. Nobody knows, Puya.
He can go anywhere. That's the way Dan is. And that was the start of an arc for Dan. Not that he's going back to see.
Where's Keisha in all of this?
In all of this, Keisha's the one who, I mean, her birthday was just ruined, right? Her birthday was just ruined by good old Jesse. So Keisha wants this flip. They orchestrate this flip. Like, well, we need to get Dan. And obviously Dan is voting this way anyway, so it works out. But it feels good to know, hey, Dan is now kind of with us. And I think this helps both of them in a way, because Dan is now rising from his big nap that he had when Brian was out. And Keisha is starting to think, oh, you know what, maybe I have other avenues I can go to. Maybe it's not just me in the club all the way to the end. I don't have to deal with this nonsense all the time. I have social play. I can do this. He's good with me. I'm good with him. That's a good connection.
I mean, it seems to split the original group into these two different sides, where you have Jerry and Ollie and Michelle over on one side, and you've got now Dan with Keisha, Rennie, and Libra, and this is obviously now pull in Memphis, and you have your sort of end game alliance moving forward.
Yeah, and it was great that I think Keisha was able to kind of set those. She set up those allies earlier on in the game while she was still in this majority Coven alliance. Her and Dan had a good connection. Her and Memphis had a good connection. So alliance became, you know, Keisha and Libra, Libra was the one who went home. Libra was the one in the forefront, and, you know, Keisha still had her side alliance ready to go for the second half of the game. It worked out beautifully for her.
Yes, and then this group is basically going to run the table a bit here. Obviously, they lose the immediately following HOH, as you said. Michelle is going to be able to take Libra out, but then Rennie, Dan, and Keisha are going to go back to back with a little bit of tomfoolery in the middle with Dan's win. But Keisha, what is Keisha up to here, Phil? While this is happening.
Well, so I think the thing about the second half of the game, of course, the edit is mostly becomes like, look at how Dan is playing the game. But I think we mostly see Dan's really begins to set his hooks into the rest of his alliance. And so this is the part of the game where Keisha is, of course, still a great player in the game, but she's a little bit more complacent. You know, she's a little bit more... She feels very safe and secure in the fact that, you know, Rennie and Dan and then her are going to win the back-to-back HOHs, and she's not worrying about that. She's not worrying about the fact that the Renegades have already been formed. She's not worrying about the fact that, you know, those are going to be the final two. And, you know, her relationship with Rennie, of course, while it was a good one, was not going to be able to carry her to the end of the game.
Yeah, I think Keisha sees this group as like a great spot for her because she was with these other two very, you know, outspoken women who had their own opinions and their own feelings about like where they wanted to go, and none of them were afraid of like expressing their opinion and fighting for their thing. She comes into this alliance and it seems like everybody's just like willing to do what she wants. And she's the person who's closest to all of them. She was closest to Rennie. She's the one that had the relationship with Memphis. She's the one that pulled Dan in to save Memphis. So she should be the central point of it all, unaware of the fact that Dan and Memphis have, you know, created their own thing and are doing their own thing within that group. And so I do agree. I think that she, and of course Dan and Memphis are going to work very hard to like, you know, lull her to sleep essentially by being like, yes, Keisha, you're a girl, man. Like, we're into it. Let's go. Let's do this, Puya.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, it's interesting because we think of an explosive first half, talk about a very quiet second half. It's like, maybe once you find your Shangri-La, you're like, you know what, this is what I've been needing. I need this alliance that I know is going to work for me. It's good.
Is that it?
You took your foot off the gas a little bit. And what happens when then you have someone like Dan who's playing from way behind, coming in as the underdog and clawing his way back up, doing the most, trying to do as much as he can to gain pace, takes over big time. It's unfortunate for Keisha, but I do think it's a very valuable lesson having your first and only season that you played, to have had to deal with a very explosive alliance, and then to have had to be the more complacent, quiet member of a successful alliance as well. Both successful alliances just wired differently, and you were a part of both of them in different roles in both of them. You're learning different things there. But I do think that obviously the big catalyst is took your foot off the gas a little too much. But everything looked like it should have worked, so I don't blame her.
We'll do that next episode, I think. I don't think we... I really want to start that tonight. I'm fucking tired.
Week 8 HOH and try to get rid of Dan, but it's not going to work out for him. And this is, I think, when Keisha starts to realize that something is afoot. Why is Memphis saving Dan here?
Yeah, just fuck it. We're just getting here. I'm done. See you on tomorrow. Well, thanks for watching.